You don't remember the first time someone held you up next to another child and measured the distance between you. Maybe you were 5, maybe younger, but you remember the feeling. The way your stomach dropped when they said their name before yours. The way the room seemed to tilt slightly, like you'd been standing on the solid ground and suddenly realized it was never yours to begin with. You learned something that day, quietly, without words. You learned to wait and to watch their face when they talked about the other child, to measure the difference between how they looked at them and how they looked at you. There was always a difference, always a gap, and you learned that the gap was your fault. And so you started running, not away from something, but toward an impossible finish line that kept moving every time you got close. You became good at things, really good, but it was never about the thing itself. It was about being better. Better than your sibling, better than the kid down the street, better than whoever they'd held up as the standard you were failing to meet. You didn't choose your interests, you chose your battlegrounds, and every victory felt like breathing room. Every failure felt like dying. You were 7, maybe 8, sitting at the dinner table. Someone asked about school. You said you got an A, and before anyone could respond, they said, "Well, did Alex get an A too?" Or maybe it was your cousin, or the neighbor's kid. It didn't matter who. What mattered was that your A, your effort, your pride, dissolved the second someone else's name entered the room. You learned to swallow your achievements before you'd even finished tasting them. You learned that nothing you did was ever just yours. It was always in relation to someone else. So you stopped celebrating, you stopped feeling proud, because pride required believing you mattered on your own, and you'd been taught over and over that you didn't. You only mattered in comparison. And comparisons, you learned, were never really about you. They were about the other person, the one you were supposed to be more like, the one you were always somehow falling short of. Now you're older, someone mentions a promotion. Your chest tightens before you even know why. Your mind starts calculating their title. Your title. Earn their salary, yours. You're nodding, smiling, saying congratulations. But inside, you're doing math, measuring the gap, and if they're ahead, even by an inch, you feel yourself disappearing. You can't even hear their joy. You can only hear the space closing, the space where your worth used to fit, shrinking with every word they say. You became someone who can't rest. When you stop, you feel them moving. You feel the gap widening. You no longer even know what you want. You just know what they're good at, and you need to be better. Your goals aren't dreams, there are ways to stay ahead, ways to make sure you're not the one who falls behind. Every achievement is just another brick in a wall. You're building between you and the feeling that's always waiting underneath. That, without being better, you are nothing. And here's the cruelest part. Even when you win, even when you're objectively, measurably better, it doesn't feel like enough. You don't celebrate your wins, you just exhale that you didn't lose. The finish line was never about being good. It was about being better. And better is infinite. There's always someone else, always another metric, always another way you're never quite. People see your drive and call it ambition. They see your achievements and call them impressive. But they don't see you at 2 a.m., scrolling through their posts, counting their wins against yours. They don't see the hollow center of it. They don't see that you're not chasing success. You're running from the child who was told they weren't enough. The child who learned that love was a prize you had to earn by being more than someone else. And no matter how far you run, that child is still there, waiting for you to finally be enough, but you never are. You sit in moments that should feel like victory, and all you feel is exhausted, tired of performing, tired of measuring, tired of the voice that says, "Okay, but did they do it faster, with less help?" You want to feel proud of something, anything, without immediately scanning the room to see who did it better. You want to exist without justification, without proof, but you don't know how. You were never taught that you could. And sometimes, late at night, you wonder what you'd be if no one had ever compared you. What you would have chosen if the only question was what you loved, and not what would make you better than them. But that version of you feels you can no longer picture it. That person, the one who existed without the gap, without the measuring, you don't know who that would even be. The child you were waiting for, waited to hear someone say your name without adding theirs, waited for someone to be proud without asking, but what about them? No one did. And so you became an adult who doesn't know how to hear praise without waiting for the comparison, without bracing for the but. You became someone who can't trust softness, who hears you're doing great and immediately thinks, compared to who? People see your success and think you're confident. They see your achievements and think you're driven. They don't see the small, quiet truth underneath, that you're not building a life. You're just trying to prove you deserve to exist. No amount of being better will ever be enough to prove that. The question was wrong from the start, but you're still trying to answer it. You're still running, still measuring, still checking their score before you let yourself feel anything about your own. Still holding your breath every time someone else's name gets mentioned, waiting to see where you rank. And maybe you always will be.